The best team in USC football history, in my opinion, are the 2002 USC Trojans. This is my favorite team, you know, of all time for the USC Trojans because I just felt like this particular team started the little dynasty that followed. You know, when Reggie Bush, Wendell White, Matt Leinart, and when those guys were around. But I feel this team was the one that really got it kick started, and they had like got the ball rolling. And I just felt like this team should have been playing in the BCS National Championship, but that loss to Kansas State, I believe, that really was a big loss, 19-6. But then they lost Washington State too. They couldn't get back into the mix there. They missed out on the Rose Bowl, and Washington State ended up playing Oklahoma, and I think they got whooped by Oklahoma. But if they didn't lose those two games, they probably would have been three-peat university with that being the first national championship. But that's neither here nor there. But I still really like this football team. I mean, this team had all kind of talent on this team. I think this was like Pete Carroll's second year. I think he was he started in 2001. So this was his second year as the Trojans coach. But I mean, I'm telling you, they had so many different people. Like, let me just go over their stats first. So look at their stats right here. So Troy Polamalu, not to even mention Troy Polamalu, one of the greatest safeties in NFL history and definitely, arguably, USC history. I mean, USC done had so many great ones. Mark Carriers, Ronnie Lotz, Dennis Smith. I mean, they done had a lot of people playing safety here. But he wasn't even the leading tackler. The leading tackler was Matt Grudegood, number 6. Melvin Simmons was a good middle linebacker. Deshaun Hill, number 5, before Reggie Bush, very underrated safety that played alongside Troy Polamalu. Darryl Rideau was a solid cornerback. Mike Pollard was a solid linebacker. Kenichi Udisi, he went and had a good career in the NFL with the Vikings. Omar Nazel, Mike Patterson also had a good career. Remember Marcel Allman, he used to play wide receiver the previous year, and then he switched to defense, I believe, and he excelled at defense. He was a good cornerback on the other side of Darryl Rideau. Jason Leach was also a good player as well. And then, you got Sean Cody. He was I believe he was a freshman at the time, but he was an exceptional freshman. Justin White was good. Dallas Sarts, Sonny Bird. Well, Sonny Bird actually was the fullback. so some of these tackles, yeah, you don't want those. But they had some very good talent defensively. Offense, of course. So receiving here, I felt the best receiver of the bunch was Kareem Keller. He is the best number 2 in USC history as far as the number goes. I thought he was the best deep threat they had. He had the longest pass of the year at 65 yards. Um, he was just exceptional, just exciting to watch. Man, if anybody has that USC versus UCLA game, I can never find this game whatsoever, not even on YouTube. I just see highlights of it, but I wanted to watch that whole game. I believe they won 52-7. Like, I want to watch that entire game. If anybody sees this video and they got access to that particular game, please share that. I would be glad to see that. But I never got to see that full game because living in Denver, Colorado, they had, regional stuff back then. So you had Colorado games. That's not a bad thing, but I would rather watch USC versus UCLA at that time. And it was rivalry week, which means, it's not the same like it used to be. That game used to mean something. It still means something to me, but it's so many people going in and out of the schools. You knew that these guys was going to be on these teams for at least 3 to 4 years. And that's what was the best. That was the best thing about it. So, but yeah, Kareem Kelly, in my opinion, he was the best of the bunch. Statistically, he didn't match up with Mike Williams and Kerry Colbert, but he still made an impact, in my opinion. Mike Williams was a sensational freshman, though. 81 catches, 1,265 yards, 14 touchdowns. He played exceptionally well down the stretch. Uh, Kerry Colbert, he was very consistent player at wide receiver, number 83. He was very exciting to watch as well. Then you had Malafu McKenzie, good third down back. I thought he should have been a really good fullback in the NFL because at that time fullbacks were still wanted because he could catch out the backfield, block very well. He was actually a good backup running back as well, but he could do it all. I liked him. Alex Holmes was a good tight end. He got 29 catches, 320 yards there. Justin Fargas, he didn't really catch too much out the backfield. Uh, or Sultan McCullough, but they were very dangerous players when they had the ball in their hand. I'm surprised they didn't give them the ball more. Grant Models, he didn't catch the ball. He was number 87. He didn't catch the ball a lot, but he got 5 for 76. But he was one of those solid, role players that they had. Herschel Dennis, he obviously had 4 catches, 23 yards. He didn't really get a lot of action, but he did in that UCLA game. And then the next year, he definitely got a lot of action in 2003. But he was pretty good in the game that he did play. Then you got Dominic Byrd. He made a bigger impact in the next few seasons, number 86. I think it's Brandon Hancock, another fullback, number 40. He had 2 catches. Then you got Greg Gunther Jr. He had 7 catches. Chad Pearson. There was a few guys that were like receivers. They didn't get enough action, like D. Hale. He was number 82. I think there was like Chris McMurtry, I believe. He should have got some more action, in my opinion, too. But anyway, they were all solid that year, especially down the stretch. Like I said, first games they went 3-2, but then they went on that 8-game streak. And man, they just looked exciting from that start. Obviously, Carson Palmer was the Heisman Trophy winner, my favorite quarterback of all time. And these 10 interceptions here, if he doesn't throw those interceptions in those games against Kansas State and Washington State, man, obviously I think he probably would have 40 touchdowns and probably only 3 or 4 interceptions. But he played exceptional down the stretch. He had a 149 rating and, completed 63% of his passes. Like I said, the 65-yard bomb to Kareem Kelly, that was his longest pass. I mean, he just was an exceptional quarterback at USC. He went on to have a good career, in my opinion, in the NFL. It could have been better, obviously, but he did, get a few. I think he might have got no, he didn't get a win with Cincinnati. He got him to the playoffs, I believe, about 2 or 3 times, but he just didn't get that victory. But he did get a victory. He might have got 2 victories when he was on the Cardinals, but they lost to the Carolina Panthers in the NFC Championship game when Cam Newton took them to the NFC Championship. And that was actually a battle of 2 number 1 overall picks. I just realized that. But yes, obviously Carson Palmer, exceptional season right there. Let me see. And then the Russian. Yeah, Sultan McCullough, exceptional running back. I mean, he was like Reggie Bush before Reggie Bush, in my opinion. Very fast running back, war number 4. You see he averaged 4.5 yards, carried 8 touchdowns, 62-yard long run, 865 yards on the ground, and he carried it 179 times. He shared it, split it with the exceptional Justin Fargas. He had 161 carries, 737 yards, 7 touchdowns. You remember Justin Fargas? He was Antonio Fargas, his son. And he first played, I believe, at Michigan. And then he transferred to USC in, I believe, his senior season. He wouldn't have a good career with the Raiders. He didn't get a lot of playing time there, but every time he ran the ball, he was always averaging at least over 5 yards carry with them. But he played extremely well down the stretch for the USC Trojans on that 8-game streak. And he wore number 25 then. A very good runner, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, that was like the thunder and lightning, that became Reggie Bush and Linda White in the later years. But this was the start of it with Sultan McCullough and Justin Fargas. Herschel Dennis was an exceptional freshman running back. You know, he had a pretty solid campaign, even though he didn't play that many games. 49 carries, 207 yards, and had that 38-yard scamper against UCLA. I remember that one. Malafu McKenzie, you know, he got those tough yards when he needed it. Let me see. This guy right here, Daryl Poston, he was number 9. And I remember him in the first game when they played Auburn. And I thought he was going to be a pretty good running back of the future for them, but I don't know what happened. I guess when they loaded up and when they got Reggie Bush, uh, Lindell White, Chauncey Washington, I believe they even also had another guy named Whitney Lewis who became like a receiver, but he was like a running back too. Maybe he just got too crowded in the backfield, and I believe he ended up going to UNLV. But he was a good player in my opinion. I thought he was going to be the future there as well, but it just didn't work out in that way. But, you know, as you can see, as a team, they averaged 35 points a game and the opponents averaged 18. I mean, they were starting, you know, to be that high powered offense that, you know, the previous seasons, they couldn't get it done on Paul Hackett. But then Norm Chow, the offensive coordinator, who was the coordinator for BYU years ago, but when he became USC's coordinator, I mean, I think he really put a stamp on that offense, and the teams that played under him, they were all exceptional. Like they was always fun to watch. But this team is really what started it, the 2002 Trojans. Uh, I just think that, man, if they don't lose them 2 games, in which I'm about to go over those actually right now. Let me go over those. Let me see here. Let me see here. I'm gonna go over those because those, you know, those are some good teams as well. Like, but you know, I mean, Kansas State, I thought they just played just really sluggish against them. I thought they could have did a lot better against that particular team. I don't know what happened, but it just didn't work out for them in that particular game. So see right here, 11-2. They were 7-1 in the Pac-10. 4-2 on the road. They were undefeated at home and 1-0 neutral, which that was the Orange Bowl. But you can see right here, that first game, it was on Labor Day, 24-17 victory over Auburn. They looked really good starting out. Then they went to Colorado, absolutely demolished the Buffaloes 46-3. Then they go to Kansas State and just had a letdown, 19-6. You remember this team was averaging 35 points a game and they only put up 6. So leaving 29 points off of the board there, I mean, that's just a disappointing, you know, affair right there. They rebounded against Oregon State, which had Derek Anderson and Steven Jackson, actually, future NFL pros on that team. And they ended up beating them 22-0. Then they go up to Pullman, and then I remember watching this game on TBS, and this was like when Carson Palmer really started realizing his potential. He was throwing that thing in that game, you know. But then they went into overtime, and then they lost that game in overtime. Man, it was like a hard fought game. And yes, I understand Washington State was a top team back then, but nah, I just felt USC was just the better team overall. But they couldn't beat them, and this is the game that I think really cost them for the national championship game. And then you got at California, they played them at home. They won 30-28. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is playing yet on that team. Then this is when it really started just rolling for the Trojans. So they took on Washington and beat them 41-21. Then they went to Oregon and won 44-33. Then they went to Stanford, won 49-17, dominated. Then they played Arizona State at home, 34-13, another dominating victory. Then the UCLA debacle. Okay, I said it was 52-7, which it really was. Probably the other 14 points that came garbage time. But 52-21. If anybody has this game, please share it with me. I have to see the game in its entirety. But they totally dominated the crosstown rival Bruins. and then took on Notre Dame. Notre Dame was riding high, with Ty Willingham as the first year coach for them. But they took care of business, and that was Carson Palmer's defining Heisman Trophy winning performance, 44-13. And then in the Orange Bowl, they kind of started out a little sluggish, but Kareem Kelly's big catch got them really going and got the momentum going. And they ended up winning that game in sensational fashion on national TV the day after New Year's Day, 38-17. So yeah, those games right there, Washington State and Kansas State, they really were the big letdowns for them. But they didn't let that season get messed up, and they finished strong. But yes, those USC Trojans, boy, that was a team to watch. It was like one of the best teams, in my opinion, like of all time. And a lot of people don't realize, they had so many NFL players go on into the NFL draft on that team too. A lot of them, didn't make the teams or didn't stick with those teams. But you had, like, of course, Troy Polamalu, Carson Palmer, Justin Fargas. He played pretty relatively long. Mike Patterson, the defensive tackle, he played pretty good amount of years. Kenichi Udeze did as well. Frosty Rucker, who I didn't mention before, he also did. There was quite a few guys that did, have some exceptional games and stuff with them, But, other than that, that team probably was the best USC team in that little dynasty era from, like I say, 2002 to 2007 for sure in that frame. Those were some really good teams, but that team was definitely the best one in my opinion. So I just wanted to go ahead and talk about my favorite squad, USC, and that particular one, the 2002 USC Trojans. Very talented all the way around. Just didn't finish those two games, but yes, that is the best USC football team.